Would you rather walk away from that financial stability, take the risk, start the business, see if it works? Maybe it turns out better than you could have ever imagined? Or would you rather stay in that job, be done, hang up the apron, throw in the towel, ride it out until retirement, be done with work altogether, and look back and say, gosh, I wish I would have explored that opportunity? Would you be happy? Would you be happy at the end of that journey if you never explored that other opportunity, that business venture that you so bad wanted to do and you thought about every day and you kept circling back to it? Would you be happy if you just let that go? Would you be able to let it go? Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I'm your host, Katherine, and I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you had an idea or you were really motivated to do something and you kept talking about it, but you never launched what you wanted to do? You never launched the idea. You never took the risk. You never took that first step or the next step, or you never followed through. And what you wanted to happen, it never happened because you had a failure to launch. Well, today's episode is for you because as a female entrepreneur who is also a mom, I can tell you that I have more times than I can count where I've had an idea or a project or something that I so bad wanted to happen, but I didn't actually put the work in and it didn't land on the moon. The rocket never launched and it didn't land on the moon. And it happens to all of us. But I've put together some tips and tricks for how you can actually launch that new idea, launch that business, start that health and fitness journey, and actually make it to the end, to see it to the end. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. So stay tuned if you have ever found yourself in one of those seasons of life. It is so easy to dream and wish and want things to happen or change in your life, but not actually think about the input that you are going to need to put in order to get the outcome. Like, we're all naturally born dreamers. Like, we all do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can lay there and dream about all of the things that you want, but just know that a lot of those things are never going to happen unless you do put in the work. You have to put in the work in order for that to happen, in order to get that outcome. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we get too caught up in the ideas and don't focus enough time on implementation, then we fall under the category of failing to launch. You develop a launching problem, which can be worded in so many different ways. And here's just a few that I thought of. So you hear people say like, oh, you're all talk, no action. Like, I've said that about myself. My husband has said that about me when I have some ideas. Or you're an almost person. Or a boomerang. A boomerang's a good one. So it means that you start something, but then you fall back right where you started. Like, you land back where you started. You never actually go full circle. And you stop yourself and you're not able to actually discover what's on the other side, discover that next level or that better version of yourself, or actually see if that business venture is going to work. And let's talk about some areas that we see this a lot. And these are just a few that I came up with. So first, we see this a lot with health and fitness. So in the gym, people are motivated to start a new program, okay? But they lean into the excuses and circumstances of life. Like, their kids get sick, work gets crazy, your spouse has a very demanding job, and it makes you the default parent, so you don't have as much time to go to the gym, you don't have as much time to meal prep, take care of yourself, go on the walks, meditate, journal, do all the things that you wanted to do. And I get that. That's a valid excuse. When you have children, that is a valid excuse. But there are some ways around it. And so how do you solve that? So my first solution for you, if you feel like you have ever been in this situation, or maybe you're in this situation now, my answer to you would be lower your expectations for yourself when it comes to your health and fitness journey. Keep your standards high, but lower your expectations, maybe just in the beginning. So an example of this would be, you're starting a new challenge, a new journey. You want to go to the gym 6 days a week, but you have a busy work schedule. You have kids. Maybe you have an ill parent that you have to take care of. You have all of these other responsibilities outside of making it to the gym and trying to lose weight or build muscle or just feel good, look good, and love your body. Well, let's try not to strive for the 6 workouts each week. Let's just try to strive for 3 workouts. And if you get more than 3, well, those are bonus workouts. That's a bonus. So lower your expectations a little bit if you find that you're never able to follow through with a new exercise program that you take on. Another area that I see people give up on their goals really quickly, they don't see immediate results and then they get very frustrated. And like, this is very sad because for many people, you get so excited and you want to see immediate results. We want that instant gratification, and that's just how we're all wired. We're addicted to that. But hear me out. Studies have shown that your brain loves patterns. And the more you do it, the more you do that thing and you show up and you be consistent with it, you get these little micro doses of dopamine. You get these dopamine hits. And the more dopamine hits you get, and the more you show up, it's going to help you stay consistent. And so while the results may not come immediately, while you might not see that your jeans are fitting looser in week 1 or week 2, come week 3 or 4, you are going to notice the difference. And you're going to start to feel good, and you're going to see it in the mirror, you're going to see it in your clothes. Those around you will start seeing it in month 2 and 3. And it's going to be easier to stay consistent and to actually follow through with this health and fitness journey that you started on. So just remember that. Consistency compounds. It always helps you get towards that bigger goal. And then another example of this that I thought of, like on a personal level, is it's no secret. I've shared this with you guys. I have trouble sleeping. I've had trouble sleeping since I was in college. So it's been like 15 years now. I wouldn't call myself like an insomniac, but me going to sleep at night, everything has to be perfect. You know, like I have to have the perfect temperature in the room. It has to be very dark. I have to have my sound machine on, which that started when my daughter was born. And for those of you who are parents, you might be able to relate to this. Like, you know, they sleep in your room. You have the noise machine on, the noise canceling machine with the waves or the nature sounds. And then you get used to that. And then even when she transitioned out of our room, I still really liked the sound machine. So I had to get one for our room. And then the same thing with my son. He slept with us. And then I just kept using the noise machine. So I don't know, maybe one day I'll get rid of that. I actually read an article the other day that said it's not good to sleep with one of those beside your bed every night. But if that's what's going to help me sleep right now, I'm just going to do what works. But that's one of the things that helps me. But anyways, I digress. So I have been on this journey within the last 6 months to try to find out how I could have the best sleep possible no matter what. And I found a few things that work for me, and I could probably do a whole other episode on that. But I have this nighttime routine, and if I keep doing the nighttime routine, like at first I didn't see instant results. Like I started this nighttime routine and like my sleep improved a little bit, but not a lot. I was still kind of waking up in the middle of the night and I was frustrated and I kind of wanted to say like, oh, this doesn't work. But what I did was I didn't allow that thought to control me. I instead just stuck to the routine. I stayed consistent with it and I did start to see the results. I did start to see that outcome that I desired. And so it was easier for me to stick to it. So now I have developed this nighttime routine that helps me get really great sleep. Like I rarely get less than 7 hours every single night. And I don't go to bed very early either. And I'm not an early person. My kids wake me up. They are my alarm clock. I don't need an alarm clock. That's just the phase of life I'm in. Sure, I would love to get up earlier and get a few things done, but there are many mornings where that's just not happening right now, but that's okay. I'm focusing on that nighttime routine. And like I said, I didn't see instant results, but now I do see the results and it works. And if I like have a night where I can't follow that routine, my whole schedule is thrown off because, well, first I kind of develop anxiety about not being able to stick to that routine. And I worry like, oh, am I going to sleep tonight? But usually it's fine. But then also I've kind of set these boundaries for myself that allow me to always show up at the time I need to start my nighttime routine in order to get in bed to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So I know that was like a long-winded way of explaining my nighttime routine and how just staying consistent with something has worked for me. But the point is, You're not going to see instant results with anything in life, whether it's with your health and fitness journey, whether it's with starting some sort of business or side hustle. Like nothing's going to come right away like that. And you have to just embrace and enjoy the journey. And so that would be a tip that I have for you around that. If you're finding that it is hard to stay consistent because you're not seeing immediate results. Okay, another area that I see that we have a launching problem going on, especially in today's culture, is women's entrepreneurship. And this is a topic that I love to talk about, especially with other female entrepreneurs. And for years, I have been coaching individuals who want to open up their own fitness studio, and I kind of help them walk them through steps from A to Z and how they can do it and the entire process. And in the beginning stage of business, in like business development, idea generation, you could likely come up with more reasons why you shouldn't do it than why you should. But here's what I say to that. A lot of people, they talk themselves out of it. They end up circling back to that idea. They end up circling back over and over and over, and then it's too late. And the simple answer to this is just take the risk. Put one foot in front of the other and walk. Just do the walk, because if you have something that is weighing heavy on your heart or something that you just keep coming back to over and over again, that cycle, it's never going to stop unless you do something about it. So my advice to you there would be take the risk. And here's a few reasons why I feel that many women struggle with launching their business, especially moms. Number one is finances. So people, especially women, we have this idea that you need a lot of money to make a lot of money. And it is true in a way. Like you do have to have some money saved in order to get a loan, to have the collateral, to put the cash down, to have the pretty financial statement to provide to the bank or to the investor. I get that. But I think too often we feel that we are not worthy enough to explore all of our options when it comes to financing. So an example would be Fit Body Bootcamp as a brand. We have amazing investors in which we can partner you with. They can talk to you about what your personal financial statement looks like, what your goals are, and they can come up with a plan on how they can help fund your business. It's not a bank, it's a financial advisor pool. I am not sponsored by them in any way, so I don't know much about it, but I do know that a lot of people have used them and it's turned out really, really well. It's worked great for them. And so there's so many options when it comes to financing. And so don't be scared to explore your options. Like go meet with a few banks, talk to an investor, talk to a financial wealth advisor, an advisor. Talk to some friends who have also started a business and they've done something that's, similar to what you want to do. Just make sure that you explore all of your options. One thing that I've learned is, with investors, like using other people's money, there's a lot of benefits in that. You're not using all of your cash. Like cash is king sometimes. Like, no, you don't want to keep it all in the bank, but there are ways out there where you can use other people's money to fund your dream, to fund your idea. As long as you're willing to put the work in, it's going to pay off. The last thing I want to say about finances is that many people, they find themselves in a situation where they have a job and they're making money and they're comfortable with their financial situation, but they're uncomfortable with the day-to-day of their life. So they don't like what they're doing. They don't feel passionate about what they're doing. They're not excited to get out of bed every day and do that job. They just don't want to do it anymore. It's sucking the energy from them, sucking the energy from their soul, and they don't want to do it anymore. But they're too afraid to walk away because of the financial stability. And I want to ask you this question. Would you rather walk away from that financial stability, take the risk, start the business, see if it works, maybe it turns out better than you could have ever imagined? Or would you rather stay in that job, ride it out until retirement, be done, hang up the apron, throw in the towel, be done with work altogether, and look back and say, gosh, I wish I would have explored that opportunity? Would you be happy? Would you be happy at the end of that journey if you never explored that other opportunity, that business venture that you so bad wanted to do and you thought about every day and you kept circling back to it, would you be happy if you just let that go? Would you be able to let it go? I want you to ask yourself that question. So that's all I got when it comes to finances. That's one of the reasons why many women, we just don't keep going. We don't launch the idea. We don't launch the business. It's because we have limiting beliefs around the financial piece. All right, number 2, what I see happen a lot to women is that they get too caught up in the imposter syndrome. And it's really funny because in order to not be an imposter, not feel like an imposter, is to have experience in something. And in order to get experience, you have to just start doing the work. And so there is really no way around this. People are going to feel like an imposter forever. We're all going to feel like that. And even when you accomplish something so great and when you master your craft, there are going to be other things in your life that have you second guessing your worth, second guessing your knowledge, second guessing, do I even know what I'm doing anymore? And we're all going to be in that. Like, it's always going to come up. Imposter syndrome, it never ends. But wouldn't you rather take the risk and see if it actually pans out to be something great than to never take the risk at all? You have to be comfortable with getting a little uncomfortable. Women today, like, we're so focused on looking good and being our best and showing up in the highlight reels of our life. And we're trying to hide what's really happening behind the scenes. And a lot of times, like, what's really happening behind the scenes is more of what people can relate to. So if you can share that portion of your life, share that version of yourself, I promise that you're actually going to be able to connect with more people. So let's squash the imposter syndrome. We're all going to get nervous. We're going to get anxiety. We're going to feel anxious about things. We're going to question ourselves. We're going to doubt ourselves. That's never going to stop. Females or males, everybody does it. But we can't let that feeling creep in and take over our body and prevent us from taking risks in life. You're never going to get anywhere. All right, the last one. The last thing that I see that is keeping women back from taking the risk when it comes to making a change in their life is kids. So you're scared your schedule will not allow you to take on a new business venture because, kids are a lot of work. And in the beginning stages, there's going to be very little balance. I'm just going to be honest. It may be tough to figure it all out, but that feeling, it's temporary. It's not permanent. And that feeling that you have, it may be that you're spending more time working in your business and your kids are home with your significant other or with a sitter or at school more because you're building this empire. But if you put in the work, you put in that grit and you grind, then I promise you're going to get to that point where you get to spend more time with them. And you're going to build systems and processes in which is going to allow you to live the life that you always desired. And that's really, looking back on my life and the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey with Fit Body Bootcamp, I'm not going to lie, like, we spent 6-7 days a week at the gym, even with my daughter. We'd bring our dog, our Labradoodle Piper, as well. It's like a family affair. And looking back, like, yeah, it was hard, but it was fun. It was rewarding because then a few years down the road, I had 2 locations and I had an amazing team that I built. And my team was really the face of my business. And my businesses, they would never have gotten where they did without my team. But I hired the right people. I developed processes and systems in which allowed me to have that freedom that I always desired to spend more time with my family. And so when you put in the work, you're going to get the reward in the end. And I'm not saying that kids aren't an excuse, because they are. And if you are in a stage of life where you're like, I have 3 kids and I want to continue to grow my family, then right now might not be the time to start the business or start the new idea, the side hustle, or some crazy health journey. Like, right now might not be the time. But never forget that you are important and that you have to take this time for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to focus on you so that you can show up for everyone else in your life. So kids, it's a big part of many female entrepreneurs' lives, and I understand that they can be a hurdle but also a blessing. And I built my business and built my family at the same time. And while those are 2 things that require a lot of time, it really helped me prioritize my time and figure out what was most important and how I should be spending every single minute. So kids are going to be an obstacle, but the reward will be so great if you're able to figure out how to balance it all. And I know balance is a tricky word, but there is a way that you can do it in a way that it can work for you. And I speak from experience in all of these areas as someone who has lived almost the last whole year in like an almost phase. A lot of things changed in my life, and there were a lot of things that I almost did but didn't necessarily take action on, didn't follow through. I had a failure to launch. I get where you're at in your life. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know. Like, I keep thinking about this thing I want to do. I want to lose the 20 pounds. I want to start the business. I want to move. I want to make a significant change. Like, there's just something that I so bad want to do, but I'm so worried about how it's going to disrupt my current life, the day-to-day, my family, my finances. What are my friends going to think about me? And like, those are all valid points. And those are all thoughts that I've had. But you can't let those thoughts consume you. And the only way to get those thoughts out of your head is just to put one foot in front of the other and take action. So here are my 5 ways that I want you to try to implement if you are stuck in a phase of life like this. These are 5 ways that you can actually launch that idea, take the initiative, follow through, and make it happen. All right, number 1 is accept your current situation. What does your life look like right now? What lifestyle do you desire versus what do you have? Let's forget about the past. It's in the past. Let's only focus on the future. So where are you at right now in your life? What's your schedule look like? If you're trying to implement workouts, like, where are you going to fit those workouts in? If your kids have after school activities and you're toting them around town, we're probably not going to go to the gym at 5 p.m. every day. Like, that's just not realistic. You know, what does your spouse have going on? Does he have a very demanding job? He or she have a very demanding job that isn't going to allow you to go to the gym when you want to because you're going to have to be the default parent. How are you going to figure that out? What's your job look like? Maybe you're at the office 10 days or 10 hours a day and you have very little time to focus on you. Maybe you have to go all in on the weekend, whether it's to build a business or better your health and fitness journey. Going all in on the weekend, there's a ton of benefits to that. Just think about it. A lot of people, they use the weekend to relax. Instead, why don't you use the weekend to focus on you? Work out Saturday and Sunday. Spend time alone working on your business, and maybe sprinkle in 1 or 2 days during the week if you can to work on it as well. And bam, that's 4 days right there. So go all in on the weekend. And then what are your setbacks going to be? It's like, in your current life right now, like, go ahead and just list out all of the circumstances that you are under that may be setbacks. Because your setbacks, I want you to use those as setups. I want those setbacks to set you up for success. I want you to go ahead and just squash those and figure out ways that you can overcome those setbacks and set yourself up for success. All right, number 2 is, what are your goals based on things that add value to your life? So what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to launch? And why? And if you can't answer that question, then it can't be a goal. It can't be something that we're going to work towards. You need to have a very strong why. An example of this would be, like, for me, a year and a half ago, I went and watched one of our friends do the Ironman. And after the Ironman, I was like talking to my husband about how I would love to do the Ironman. So I signed up for the Y and started swimming. I used to be a swimmer. I swam for 10 years when I was a kid. And I thought, oh, it's going to be a piece of cake. I borrowed some goggles from my good friend and hit the pool. Oh my gosh, you guys. Like, I could swim 10 laps and then I was just totally done. But I stuck with it for a little while and I kept swimming, and I've always been a runner. So the running part doesn't scare me too much. The biking part, I wouldn't say I'm an expert biker, but I do have a nice road bike. And so I did start biking a little bit, and I was swimming. And then one day I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I really could care less about doing an Ironman. Like, what value is that adding to my life? But if that's a goal of yours, if that's something that you've always wanted to do, that's great. And you probably have a huge why around it. but I didn't. So I couldn't really put that on my vision board. I couldn't put that on my goal list because my why wasn't strong enough and it wasn't adding significant value to my life. So anything that you're trying to launch, anything that you're trying to do, it has to add so much value that it just makes sense for you to keep going. All right, number 3, I want you to envision what your life is going to look like when you reach this goal, when you launch that idea and it lands on the moon. When there is a vision of tomorrow, it's easier to accomplish today's tasks. When there is a vision of tomorrow, it's easier to accomplish today's tasks. If you have not visualized what your life is going to look like when you accomplish this goal, then how can you get excited about it? So here's an example. You launch that business. You launch that Fit Body Bootcamp business. You have 150, 200 members coming through your doors. You're changing lives. You're impacting their life, not only at the gym, but outside of the gym. You're making a huge impact in your community. But then it's also allowing you to spend more time with your family, to be there at dinner every night at 5:30 with your kids, to soak in and cherish this time. Envision what your life is going to look like. You have to spend some time visualizing, because if you don't even know what you want your life to look like, how can you decide what you're supposed to spend your time on? How do you know what you're supposed to work on? When you have this idea that you so bad want to launch, even if it's so small, like you just want to lose 20 pounds and you want to feel good, why do you want to lose the 20 pounds? What are you going to look like? What is your life going to look like when you lose the 20 pounds? Are you going to get up and have energy to be there for your kids, to be a better spouse, to show up at work, to actually put yourself in a position, like step out of your comfort zone, give the presentation? Is that going to be you? Because if you haven't visualized how your life is going to change when you launch this new version of yourself, it's going to be really hard to keep going. So I want you to visualize what your life's going to be like. And if you like vision boards, make a vision board. I've actually never done that before, but I've seen some people who do, and I think it's so cute, like cut out magazine pictures in a magazine and newspapers. You can also make like a digital vision board on Canva. Doing that, putting it in your office, put it in your bedroom, post it up just to remind you. Like whatever you have to do, I want you to visualize how your life is going to change when you take this risk and you step outside of your freaking comfort zone. All right, number 4, I want you to assess your environment. Who are you spending your time with? Who's taking your energy from you? Who's giving you energy? Where are you spending most of your time? Now, I get it. If you work in an office setting, like you're not going to be able to just like eliminate your coworkers or remove yourself from that situation. Like you can't do that, but you do get to turn the volume up or down, which I've heard this from another thought leader in the space. You can decide who you turn your volume up and down for. And if there are people around you that are really negative and they're going to bring you down and they're not going to help you launch this idea, then you need to turn the volume down when they're around you, okay? You don't need to feed into that. Don't listen to that. Don't let those negative thoughts flood through your body and in your mind. You need to let that go. And so be very, very picky about who you spend your time with and where you spend your time. And my number 5, my last one, is be relentless. As a working mom, every day will not be easy and no 2 days are the same. You're going to be so tired and frustrated some days, and some days you're going to be thrilled and full of energy for what you're doing. And no matter what the mood is, do not give up. Don't quit trying. If one method doesn't work, let's try another one. Tiny drops of water make a mighty ocean. Your little efforts here and there will eventually sum up to something really, really great. If you've been trying to build a business, but every time it comes crashing down, you don't have to be disheartened. Maybe you're just doing it the wrong way. There could be another system, another person, another process, something else that can help you get you there. All right, so to recap, here is the 5-step process. Number 1, accept your current life, where you're at in life. Number 2, set goals based on what you value. Number 3, visualize what your life will look like and feel like. Number 4, assess your environment. Who are you spending your time with and where you're spending your time? And number 5, be relentless. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. As always, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and share this episode with all of your friends. Until next time, you guys, thanks so much.